What's up, guys? Dave with Miracle Canine Training, out here with Bella with another update. This is our 1 week board and train in for walking. So we are now about 4 days in or so, and we have the leash walking looking really good. We've moved on to our last step of the e-collar training for it, so we'll be demonstrating that in a minute here. It is part number 2 of conditioning in the e-collar. If you've seen some of our YouTube DIY videos, where we're using a single tap correction, we're not relying on the leash in order to shape that position or anything. Again, all of that's looking great. So what we're starting to do here is we're starting to add sits and sit stays into the walk. So we've conditioned in the e-collar utilizing continuous pressure into the sit. We did not, unfortunately, get that on video. That was over the weekend that we did it. We just didn't have the time in order to do it here, but you did really good with it. So what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be turning that into a sit stay today. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna walk her to the park. We'll be demonstrating the process of the e-collar healing that we're at currently. Once we get to the park, we'll do some sit stays and we'll show you how we go about doing that with her. So let's get started. All right, so walking's looking great. So again, we're at the last stage of the healing where we're no longer reliant on the prong collar here. We are no longer reliant on the leash to give any sort of information as far as joysticking the dog around into position. And the e-collar is understood with the command where we're able to utilize only that and have her adjust herself. So if she makes a mistake or gets out of position or tries to sniff something, I can mark with no, give a correction on the e-collar, and she understands that that means to move herself back into position. So we have a clear understanding of that healing. This is the step we always want to move to. I want to be able to hold the leash just loose like this, have her understand staying with me, you know, making sure that she's always matching my pace if I slow down or speed up or anything like that. And we want to make sure we have a concrete understanding of it. All of this looks really good. So like I said, we're going to be adding in sit stays today. So we'll walk her up a little bit further and then we'll get cruising on that. All right, so what we're going to be doing next here is we're going to be adding in sits and sit stays into the walking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to forget about all the healing we've done so far. I'm just isolating the sit command right now, and I'm going to go through 3 steps for this. The first step is going to be just making sure the dog will get into the sit position. Second step will be that I could get a quick little walk around her while she's in the sit position. And the third step would be leaving her in that position and having her maintain command here. So, like I said, we've conditioned in the e-collar with the sitting, just like we did with the healing, utilizing the continuous pressure. So she understands when I come to a stop, if I get her into a sit, I could hold pressure down, help her into position, and release button, and she understands that this pressure means get into the sit. So we're gonna be using it as just a correction for this step now that we have that taught. So what I'm gonna do, okay, is walk, I'm gonna come to a stop, and when I come to a stop, I'm gonna say sit, good. As long as she gets in, great. If she doesn't, I'm gonna mark with no, give a tap on my e-collar, and then repeat that sit command, okay? Sit, good, okay? Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Now, like I said, we've worked on this with the continuous pressure, so this should be pretty smooth at this point. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Okay, so once the dog is doing really, really well with just sitting without any duration or anything, then we add in simple duration into things. So my goal is I want to be able to walk a 360 around her and have her maintain position, and I want to be able to do that until she's smoothly and reliably holding the sit as I walk around her multiple times. So, okay, same process, come to a stop, sit. Once the dog is stable in the sit, that's when you start your walk. As I'm walking, if she gets up, what I would do is mark with no, tap the button, and then help her back into a sit. Now again, a little shift there at the beginning. If her butt stays on the ground, I'll give a little bit of leniency for the first couple of reps here, but I do want to see that smooth out. Okay? Sit. Good. Same deal, walking around. Very good. Good. Okay. Sit. Now notice when I go to walk for the first time, I'm doing it nice and slowly, trying to keep her successful, and I don't want any quick movements that are going to get her to get up right away. And notice I always end in the heel position. Okay, and then release. Sit. Okay. Sit. Okay. Sit. Good. Okay. Sit. No. Sit. So again, marked with no, gave my tap on the e-collar, then repeated command. That's our formula for any of this stuff when we move on to corrections for it, is we identify with our no what we're correcting for, we correct, which reinforces that no mark, and then we give information on what we want the dog to do post-correction. Okay? Okay, so the next step here is going to be leaving the dog in position while we walk away. Now, when we're doing this, I like to use back ties when I'm outdoors or in an open area. So a back tie is anything that you could take your leash and loop your leash over, tie your leash off to, and just something that, or friend stepping on the leash, something that's gonna allow you to be able to create distance safely, knowing the dog's not gonna run away, obviously. So in this case, we're gonna be using this post and this post right here to tie our leash off to ensure safety while working on this. Indoors, you don't have to worry as much about a back tie. You could just obviously leave the dog in position. If they run off, they're not going to get away from you, obviously. You just have to make sure after you correct, you take the dog back to the same spot they were originally in. So, okay, we're going to take the dog over here, sit, put the dog in command, tie your leash off, and then make sure it's nice and secure. And then you're going to create your distance. Now, as you're doing this, naturally, if the dog were to get up, you would mark with no, give a tap, and then I would walk all the way back to the dog to help her into position. And I'll go back. Once I get back, I'm going to untie my back tie first. Put myself back in the heel position. Okay, then release the dog. And we're going to go ahead and do that again over here. Same process. Sit. Good. Take your leash. Tie off your back tie. Make sure it's nice and secure. Create your distance. No. Sit. Mark with no. Give your correction. Repeat your command. Now, the first couple reps you do, you're not worried about getting super far away or anything. I'm just getting her used to me moving away and coming back. So again, going back, undoing your back tie, heel position, okay, then release. Sit. How's it going?
Hey guys, how you doing? What?
Same deal, back tie, create your distance. Looking really good, starting to make the connection here. Okay, we'll do one more of those. Sit. Again, not a ton of distractions here, but we do have bikes going by. We obviously had the wheelchair coming by. She's doing pretty good maintaining her focus and her attention around those distractions. Okay. All right, so those are the basics of starting to add your sit stays into the walk. Now you could do those, like I said, in your house, outside of your house, at the park, wherever. You just have to make sure you're teaching it and going through those order of just sits, walk around sits, then back tied sits before you start just jumping right into day-to-day application. Anytime you're working on sit stays, especially if you're gonna be far away from your dog, like I said, I recommend using back ties. They're not totally necessary once your dog is really smooth with it, but for safety purposes, until you're 100% confident that your dog is gonna stay there and not get up out of position, just continue using them for those safety reasons. Again, Bella's got a couple days left with us here, so we're gonna be proofing this stuff. I think our next stages here are gonna be getting her out to a couple different public places and making sure that walk is gonna be reliable in those, but she's doing wonderful so far, and we're really excited to get her home with her owners.